So, Sean, just talk to us about this reported use of the Storm Shadow.
Yeah, it's been interesting, Kamali, hasn't it, that we've been known that the Storm Shadow has been actually being used by the Ukrainians for well over a year now. And actually, when it was first released by the UK to be used, my understanding was that they said to President Zelensky, as long as it's used within the law of armed conflict, you can use it wherever you like. It was only subsequently that America got a bit more nervous, particularly when Ukrainians moved into Russia itself. They've become a lot more nervous, and therefore they wanted to have a sort of a harmonised view about this. Now that the US has said that the ATACMS missile can be used into Russia, we understand now that the British government is not likely to make an announcement about it. It's almost certainly a phone call to President Zelensky, just get on with it. The Storm Shadow missile is an incredibly capable missile. We've got the ranges here. The Storm Shadow, the advertised range of the model that they've probably got is about 155 miles. The ATACMS range just slightly more than that outside, but it's quite deep inside the territory. And it's the sort of targets that headquarters, logistics supply lines, energy headquarters, all the sort of things that Russia's been striking Ukraine. It's exactly the sort of thing, precision strike. One of the challenges, of course, is that Keir Starmer will not want to be drawn because he won't want to be made a target here. But I suspect that already, even though there aren't many of these missiles left in the war stocks for President Zelensky, we've reports that most of the Russian fighter jets have already moved their basing further out, away from Ukraine. Why does that matter? It certainly protects them, but it makes it a lot more difficult to do trips in and out of because you've got further to go.
And this comes, of course, a few hours after it was announced by President Biden that anti-personnel mines are going to be given to the Ukrainians. How are they going to be used and why?
Yeah, there's millions of mines available. I think this story is quite interesting only because you sort of managed that anti-tank mines were given nice and early. Why has it waited for so long? Part of the story is we've got an example of a Russian mine here, the PFM-1 mine, known as the green parrot or the butterfly mine itself. These can be scattered in large numbers. It looks big next to me. It's only about 5 inches long in actuality. But they can be thrown out the back of large transport aircraft or helicopters. They spin down. They've got little wings like a sycamore leaf, scattered on the ground. They self-destruct. They're meant to self-destruct in 40 hours, but they're not that reliable. And unfortunately, many of them, therefore, remain on the ground, not exploded. And the trouble is they're light, they float around, it's very difficult to track, and they get everywhere. And that's one of the reasons that the US have therefore agreed, finally, that they can supply mines. Let's have a look at theirs. The one big thing is they're electrically initiated. What I mean by that is with a Russian mine, if you step on it, it's a mechanical movement and a bit like a gun firing, mechanical action, fires, and it blows up. The American ones rely on a battery, and you make a circuit when you step on the landmine. Why is that important? It makes it quite reliable, but it also means it relies on the length of the battery charge. When the battery is emptied, it is now completely harmless, and the battery dies within about 40 hours. So you don't get this same sort of problem with the legacy. And part of that reason, tragically, is because these anti-personnel mines, there's lots of effort around the world to try to manage the use of these because they have been littered around. They last for years, causing devastating consequences. This is just from 2023, at least 5,500 casualties, 84% of those are civilian, nearly 2,000 deaths. And tragically, look at the numbers, 37% of those are innocent children because they pick up those little green things, think they're toys, and it's devastating consequences for them.
Yeah. OK, so on the American mines that they're going to get then, Sean, where are they likely to be deployed and when do we think this is going to happen?
I think it could happen very quickly. Let's hit that one on the head nice and swiftly because they're not particularly large. They can be transported out pretty quickly. The question is where, because you've got to have some form of priority of where you're going to put them. You could put them in the Donbass because what the Ukrainians are desperately trying to do is slow the advance of the Russians. You don't use mines if you're on the offence because they get in your way. You do it to try and slow down your enemy. The challenge of using them anywhere in the Donbass region, though, is you're pushing them onto Ukrainian territory, which you might want to seize back. That may not be what they actually want to focus on. I suspect it'll be up in the Kursk region. Yep. That's where the Ukrainians got a little enclave. The Russians are pushing hard to try and get them out. If they could put a ring of steel of those landmines, that just might be a way of maintaining that enclave until potential for some form of negotiation.
OK, Sean, always appreciate your analysis. As always, thank you so much.